Hi everyone. I'm so pleased to have you all here today. My name is Hana Gang, General Manager of our marketing team at MediHeroes. So first of all, before we start, I'd like to thank our invited speaker, Mr. Gabriel Flemming and Dr. Gregor Kemper from GTAI. Gregory, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks a lot for having us today.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Flemming, Gabriel.
Yep. Hello from Berlin.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank
we
you.
have another speaker, our regional director from Singapore, Katie.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Katie. Okay. So, for today, Dr. Kemper will overview the biomedical clusters in Germany, including the MedTech industry environment and the market trends, and also various GTAI support programs for the startups. And then we will have Mr. Flemming will focus more on the MedTech clusters in Germany with the introduction of the MedTech clusters in each state and the government incentives available for the R&D and manufacturing for the companies. And then our regional director, Katie Wu, will introduce MediHeroes and also our biomedical cluster visit and meet program in Germany. And lastly, today we will have a short 10 minutes breakout room session. So we will give you quick guidelines on that after our presentations are over. So let me introduce our first speaker, Dr. Gregory.
Thank you, Hannah. I'm just going to share my screen. Just a second.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you should be able to see it now.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well then, thanks to all of you for meeting us at today's webinar, and thanks a lot to MediHeroes for giving us the opportunities to speak here. And thank you for the kind introduction. As Ms. Kang said, I'm joined today by my colleague Gabriel Flemming, who is our expert for the MedTech industry. First, I'd like to talk a bit about the biomedical and biotech industry and the market for pharmaceuticals, biotech, diagnostics, etc. in Germany, and later go into a bit more detail about current trends, how the industry got through the pandemic, what the current developments are that one should keep in mind. In the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about Germany Trade and Invest, what we do, and then hand over to Mr. Flemming, who is going to go into more detail about the MedTech and medical device industry. Just a quick word about who we are. Both of us are from Germany Trade and Invest. We are the economic development agency of Germany on a federal level, and we support international companies that are interested in expanding to Germany. I'm going to explain this in a lot more detail later. Well, first of all, why should you be interested in the German life science industries in the first place? One important reason is that it's not only a very large market, but also a pretty dynamic one. So what you can see here, figures from 2020, is that in 2020, among the largest markets for pharmaceuticals worldwide, Germany was actually among the fastest growing with 6.7%. So about at the same speed as only the UK and pretty much no other market. And as you can see, these are the newest figures I could find from 2020. But if you look back a little bit, this has been a pretty consistent trend. So over the past years, the pharmaceuticals market in Germany pretty much almost always grew at a rate of at least 5% a year, which of course brings a lot of opportunities for pharmaceutical and biotech companies. But of course, the life science industries consist not only of pharma and biotech. So just as an example, here you can see a comparison of the market size of in vitro diagnostics as a comparison between several European countries. And you can see here that Germany has actually the largest IVD market in Europe, pretty far ahead of France, Italy, and Spain. Now, what's the reason for Germany being a pretty large and also pretty growing market? I'd like to introduce two here. One of them is the mandatory health insurance system. And the system works in a way that essentially everyone is covered by health insurance. It's mandatory. So either employees are directly members of statutory health insurance, their family members and retired people are also included. And some people who fulfill certain requirements, this is the case for about 10% of the population in Germany, may opt to choose a private insurance. So they are still insured, just with a different, well, within a different system and different health insurances. So there are about 44 private and over 100 different public health insurances between which people can choose. So this makes sure that basically healthcare is available for everyone, which of course also creates quite a bit of demand for healthcare. The other reason is that the healthcare spending in Germany is relatively high compared to other countries. You can see here that if you take a look at the healthcare spending as a portion, as a fraction of GDP, Germany actually has the second highest worldwide, only after the USA, 12.8%. So, and the reason for this, there are many reasons for this, of course, but one of the reasons is that the population of Germany is not only the largest in Europe, but also a relatively aging one. The average age of the German population is relatively high. And since older people tend to have a higher need for pharmaceuticals, medical products and services, this just creates a lot of demand for all these products and services, and leads to a high healthcare spending, and therefore a lot of opportunities for companies in the pharma, biotech, life science, diagnostics space. Now, taking a look at specifically the biotech industry, here you can see how this industry developed in the past years. The figures for revenue might look a bit as if there's a typo, but this is actually what the figures look like, and you can probably guess the reason, since due to the successful development of the COVID-19 vaccine Comirnaty by BioNTech, this of course led to a pretty stunning increase in revenue that had a huge impact for the entire biotechnology industry, and this led to this incredible increase in revenue that actually multiplied in 2021 after the rollout of the vaccine. Also, what you can barely see here, but it's also true, in 2021, so during the pandemic, R&D investment increased quite a lot. So as terrible as this pandemic was, it's brought actually quite a lot of growth to the German biotechnology industry, and also attention, because before there was often an impression that amongst the automotive industry and the engineering industry, biotech almost went unnoticed, but now it actually gets a lot of attention from politics, from investors, from everyone in Germany, and this also leads to, for example, more successful financing rounds. So last year, German biotech companies have seen quite a number of double-digit or triple-digit million financing rounds, so very successful ones. Actually, 2020 was a record year in biotech funding for German biotechs. And of course, the big question after this record year, which was mostly impacted by the IPOs of the two big mRNA vaccine developers, BioNTech and CureVac, people wondered, is this going to be just a one-time effect? So is it going to be over next year, or is it going to last for a bit longer? And the good news is that, well, of course, in 2021, private funding, biotech funding was on a slightly lower level than 2020, the year before. But if you take a look specifically at the venture capital, which I think is the most interesting point here, because this is actually what makes or breaks the early stage drug development, you can see that it only decreased very slightly, and I think that's a pretty promising sign that there's going to be a lasting trend, and that the lack of biotech funding that has been quite a problem in the past years is now over, and that the biotech industry in Germany can realize its full potential. Another thing that I already mentioned to some degree is that now, due to the pandemic and the successful vaccine development, biotechnology and biotech innovation have also become a political priority. I mean, there have been many public initiatives, for example, to promote the development and production of personal protective equipment, diagnostics, vaccines, drugs, etc., especially in Germany. Companies, biotech companies in Germany also agree to that. As you can see here, this is the political climate index over the past years, according to a survey conducted by the German Biotechnology Association. And as you can see here, last year in 2021, biotech companies in Germany said that the political climate has been as positive as never before in the time that the survey has been created. So there's a lot of confidence that that the government now has actually realized the importance of the biotech industry, and that this will also have positive repercussions for the industry itself. Now, and how exactly does this positive attention from the political side look like? Well, for example, since the start of a new legislation by the end of last year in Germany, there have been a number of specific, I mean, apart from industry independent funding and support programs, there have been some specifically biotech, biomedicine, pharma support programs that have been either set up or relaunched. One of them is, for example, SME Innovative Biomedicine. There has, well, it's for SME, small and medium enterprises. There has already been a program called SME Innovative before, but it was for all industries. And now there's one specifically tailored for the needs of companies that develop pharmaceuticals. And that goes until phase 2A. So it can actually help pharma companies, well, especially small biotechs, to get their pharmaceuticals, to get their assets to a stage where they can survive on their own, get funding, get proof of concept, and successfully carry an asset to commercialization. Another interesting program that already existed before, but that is periodically relaunched, is Go Bio. The Go stands for Entrepreneurship Offensive. So essentially, it works like a competition. Small biotechs or also academic researchers can submit their business ideas, and what they receive, if they're successful, is not just money, but also basically contacts, networking, training in business and venture capital affairs. Because, of course, many good ideas come from universities, come from academia, and not necessarily from people who already have business experience. So this can help them to get not only the money, but also the non-scientific expertise that they need in order to turn their good idea into a successful product. And finally, there's a business plan competition called Science for Life. So this is a really early stage thing. It's organized by the state of Hesse, one of the German federal states, and Novartis. And what they do is basically they have several phases in which they assess the business plans of people who are willing to set up a life science startup. And the ones that win will also receive support and also a lot of publicity, because this competition has received quite a lot of attention actually among the German biotechnology world. Now about research and development, of course, an important topic that I often hear about when talking to biotech stakeholders in different countries in Europe and North America is the difficulty of accessing the right talent. So this is, of course, crucial in an industry that is as much dependent on on innovative development to find the right well qualified people for this endeavor. And Europe in general is pretty well equipped for this. For example, if you take a look here, out of the top 100 universities worldwide, 43 are in Europe. And in 2018 to 2020, Europe actually accounted for twice as many biotech publications than the US. So if you take Europe as a whole, it's already in quite a powerhouse when it comes to biotech expertise. And if you take a look at Germany, within that European talent pool, I think Germany has two main strengths. One of them is that traditionally it had a lot of, well, first chemical industry, then this chemical industry developed in pharmaceutical industry, and this pharmaceutical industry still exists and actually makes sure that there's already quite a large substance, quite a large pool of life science manpower, of people who have industry expertise in drug development and manufacturing. Actually, 1 out of 5 of the European pharma workforce is working in Germany, and even more than 1 out of 4 of the European pharma research and development workforce. So actually, one might say that Germany is kind of the heart of the European pharma industry. Also, of course, there is just a lot of academic research going on in Germany, about 400 universities and 1,000 other publicly funded research institutes. Now, this includes, for example, the well-known German research societies like the Fraunhofer Society, Helmholtz, Max Planck Society, all these societies that are pretty leading in their respective fields of research. And this also provides quite a lot of researchers, trained researchers, experienced ones, that are important for the manpower reservoir of the pharma and biotech workforce. Now, beyond this availability, of course, acquiring the right talents is still challenging. And here I found some interesting points on how the biotechnology clusters, like the local biotechnology associations in Germany, help to tackle this program. That's actually quite interesting. So, for example, the BioSaxony, so the biotech organization of the state of Saxony, has come up with a kind of training program where people who previously worked in different industries receive additional training that makes them qualified for example, drug or life science manufacturing jobs. Other federal states and federal state level biotechnology cluster organizations have cooperations with HR-related companies like job boards or job fairs, cooperate with them in order to attract talent into the biotech industry, or host their own in-house job board to make it easier for companies to reach out to potential candidates and access the people that might work for them. And the city of Berlin, well, the biotech cluster of Berlin, has a particular instrument that supports expats that come to Germany from abroad to work here in the biotech industry in, for example, supporting them, making it easier to come to Germany by, for example, supporting their spouses in finding work in Germany, all these kind of things. So this is one example of how these local organizations, how the biotechnology clusters in Germany help biotech companies to get what they need and fulfill their objectives. Now, as I said, Germany is also a pretty popular research and development location because the framework is just favorable for this. One example is the still pretty new Tax Credit Act. So up to a certain cap, companies can get tax credits for over 25% of their staff cost for R&D staff. So up to a certain cap. So this is especially for smaller companies. And many of biotech and health tech companies are, of course, smaller companies. This is very attractive. And also the IT protection is, according to an international ranking, very good. So it's not that surprising, actually, that in 2021, according to a survey, the percentage of German biotech companies that plan to increase their R&D investments within Germany was actually at its highest level in 7 years. So, I mean, despite the pandemic, the industry is still very optimistic. Now, I already mentioned biotechnology clusters a bit more of them. I mean, there are over 30 of them in Germany, and they operate quite differently. I mean, some of them are federal state level organizations to promote the biotech industry. Other operate more like technology parks or incubators. They have infrastructure there where especially biotech startups can grow. They promote tech transfer between academic researchers and industry, and some also have dedicated research foci and work in one particular field. So you have quite a variety of different approaches here. And what might be very interesting for the future is the so-called DATI, DATI, which means German Agency for Transfer and Innovation. Now, it has just recently, just earlier this year, a few months ago, it has been decided that this that the public hand is going to set up this agency for transfer and innovation, because it has been realized that there is a lot of excellent research in Germany, but only a small part of this is commercialized, and that there's still a lot of potential to realize here. And at the moment, I cannot tell a lot about this because the details of how this agency is going to operate is still not clear. But what I can already tell is that the concept paper about this DATI contains the words regional and local very, very many times. So the idea is probably going to be not to set up like the German version of Boston, Massachusetts, but rather to have individual clusters that are very strong in one particular field, and that basically combine and bundle the expertise, create a critical mass, and are best at the one particular field that they work in. This also fits quite well with the recent initiative Clusters for Future, which was basically also like a competition for clusters in particular industry areas. Here you can see some excellence clusters in Germany that were successful at this competition and were funded. And you can see that these clusters are always bundles of certain research teams, academic or from industry, that often combine different expertises. For example, the first Bank combines biotech, biology knowledge, and also IT in order to combine these expertises all around cardiovascular diseases, in order to approach a problem from different directions and bundle all the expertise in order to be efficient in this research area. What's also a new development is that the larger biotech, pharma, and life science companies become more and more active in their respective home biotech ecosystem. For example, sometimes you have examples where the initiative of larger companies creates synergies with smaller ones. For example, in Göttingen, the Life Science Factory, which is essentially an incubator, was established mainly by the company Sartorius. And there are others where where a local larger company basically creates the nucleation point. It's like the biggest frog in the pond, where they create an ecosystem and can also benefit from the expertise and the ideas and innovations from smaller companies that share this space with them. Now, how can you become a part of this ecosystem? By approaching Germany Trade and Invest. Now, what we do is we provide essentially all kinds of information to make it easier for international companies to establish an office, a lab, a factory, whatever. Is there any kind of subsidiary in Germany? We have information on our respective markets, on the pharma, biotech, MedTech, etc. market. On the industries, we can support you in finding the right location in Germany. So by taking a look at what you need and seeing where in Germany you can find it. And we can basically try to answer all other kinds of questions you might have that are relevant when coming to Germany, you know, corporate taxation, corporate law, etc. You can reach us in two ways. Either you can contact one of our offices abroad. We also have quite a lot of them in Asia. Or you can directly reach out to our healthcare team and to the respective industry experts. Here are my contact data. And yeah, now I'm happy to hand over the mic to my colleague, Gabriel Flemming.
Super, thank you, Gregor. I'm all set to go and will share my screen in just a minute. Here we go. I think I'm going to leave it in this modus. If I don't get any complaints from you regarding the visibility due to my computer setup, I think this is a good way right now. All right, great, thank you. So exactly, it's Gabriel Flemming. I'm a medical device specialist here at Germany Trade and Invest and have been so for 12 years. It's notable that we do make the distinction between pharmaceutical, biomedical, and medical devices, right? And actually, we use a more generic term, medical technology, to talk about implants, medical aids, but also medical imaging, for example. And this is sort of the field that I cover, even including dental industry sectors. So my role as Gregor's is just to roll out the red carpet to international companies from Asia, for example, from Korea, but anywhere in the world, to come to Germany, right, and to become established here eventually, for whatever reason, sales driven or R&D or manufacturing or maybe even combinations, right? And today I will be providing an overview of the medical technology cluster system we have in Germany. It's unique, you will see. And this is just a slide to get you as an appetizer, sort of the most important facts and figures relating to the medical technology market and the medical technology sector in Germany per se, right? So again, Germany has the largest market in Europe. Two reasons were mentioned by Gregor. It's the largest population, and there's also mandatory health insurance, right? So basically in whatever market we're looking into, but specifically MedTech, it's the largest market in Europe. By far, we are the largest spender. So the latest data was from 2020. Germany spent 37 billion euros on medical technology in Germany, right? And this includes all reimbursement cases and all medical doctor expenses, etc. So besides offering the largest market, it's the largest industry base, of course, right? Germany is still very industrialized, focusing on production, and we do have the largest manufacturer base in Europe. There's more than 1,450 manufacturers active in medical technology in Germany, with actually more than 20 employees each, right? This is the kind of statistics that we cover. And later on, I will show you a map where these are actually concentrating, right? So to see where the hotspots of the medical technology industry are, I'll show you a map. And noteworthy, of course, made in Germany sells, right? It's a very successful brand of quality and reliability. And actually exports is so very important for German industry in general, right? Germany is currently the export world champion internationally, and also very much so in medical technology, right? And those manufacturers based in Germany actually make 2/3 of their revenue from business abroad, right? Exports, but also through subsidiaries abroad. And it all comes down to Germany, made in Germany sales, right? Part of it is because it's also very innovative over here. You have so many research resources that you can tap into. Just one example is the Fraunhofer Group of Institutes, right? It's a non-profit research institute federation, which is co-sponsored by the German government, right? I think 1/3 is funded by the German government, and 2/3 of the institute's works is funded by industry, direct contract research and development. And they have something like 10,000 engineers working for them, right? There's over 100 institutes across Germany, and also across all industries. This amounts to comes down to Germany's MedTech industry leading patenting in Europe, right? German MedTech manufacturers are on the top first place at the European Patent Office. There were about 1,200 applications 2 years ago. And I think this is ever continuing. And in fact, when we look inside of Germany, MedTech is actually the top, or actually currently the second most active patenting area in all of German industry. Currently only surpassed by digital IT and communication technologies. So this is really highly innovative. There's a production base in Germany. There's an innovation base. Or you could call it a hub. And of course, we as GTAI will be happy to make introductions. And I know that MediHeroes are taking a delegation into Germany in November. I think this is just the perfect way how to do this. And I see a raised hand, and I would like to say you're welcome to ask any questions later on, if you will. Urgent questions, of course, are permitted anytime. Then I would proceed with a remark that regardless of being such a strong innovation and production hub, Germany boasts significant imports, right? Imports of medical technology are worth 16 billion euros last year. So despite being such a successful industry base and a large market, we do import from abroad, and people are very much familiar with using international brands, right? From Asia, from North America, from anywhere in the world, as long as it's good products, right? As we all know, the first step to market access is the certification topic. Once it's theoretically relatively easy, once you have a CE mark, you're ready to sell in Germany, actually across all Europe, right? This regulation system is shared by the entire European continent. The other side of market access is reimbursement. And this, of course, is covered nationally. I'll be happy to discuss these topics in individual meetings, maybe later on, or today, or via email in the next couple of weeks. Right, and just so you know, there are partners available in Germany also to acquire CE marks in case of state-of-the-art products. It is kind of a common knowledge and sort of a no worries procedure. In case of high-risk medical technology innovations, the process can be a little more tricky, and you might want to work with key opinion leaders in the German hospital system, for example. Right, and as a matter of fact, the MedTech cluster network is a fantastic resource for all these purposes, for market access, for R&D, for entering the community, right, and becoming a part of the MedTech community in Germany. MedTech clusters are a perfect resource, I think it's fair to say. This map shows those clusters. Actually, currently there are 46, more than 46. We call them innovation clusters, are involved in MedTech industry projects. 19 of them are already certified by a European quality standard system. And here on the left, the map shows white and blue bubbles. The white bubbles refer to those MedTech clusters that are certified and are also focused exclusively on MedTech, right? The entire community of more than 46 innovation clusters. This also includes clusters that are focusing on machinery, but do have working groups and projects related to MedTech. Maybe there are a lot of suppliers to MedTech industry associated in those clusters. But on the map here, we decided to show just those specifically dedicated clusters to medical technology. As a matter of fact, this is just about a 3 years old map, and we are updating it as we speak. And I will be happy to make it available to you as soon as it is compiled. I think this will be in end of October, just November, just in time for Medica, right? So those certified clusters have a membership base of more than 3,500 companies, right? So this is not only the MedTech manufacturers, but this is also suppliers from other industries, the service providers, there's research institutions, and of course there's hospitals engaged in those cluster networks as well. And the federal government has put this infrastructure in place some two decades ago. And since then, we've had over, I believe it's 150 innovation clusters, as they are defined across all industries. And there's also an online database where you can search individual clusters per your fields of interest for technology keywords, for example, right? And so this was put in place. It's highly structured, therefore, this innovation cluster network system. And one basic really backbone is, of course, the hospitals, right? University hospitals. There's more than 30 university hospitals member in those MedTech clusters. And their role is to bring just to bring together industry and researchers and clinicians, just to enable innovation to take place, right? This is where you can find partners for clinical trials. You will find those key opinion leaders to check your product, to see if it can be improved, and then to publish on it, right? Publish to German clinicians and to the patient representative groups, which makes it a great boost to advertise your product in the end, right? The blue bubbles here refer to those production hotspots that I mentioned in the beginning, which actually evolved over time, right? So in general speaking, we would say that Berlin, the Düsseldorf, Cologne region, and down the southwest, Tuttlingen area would be the most densely populated areas with regards to MedTech manufacturers, right? And those have evolved over time. They don't have a cluster management per se, but the members or the manufacturers, of course, oftentimes choose to become members of the innovation cluster, which is put in place in their vicinity. And you're welcome to reach out to them anytime. We can make introductions as well. Right, as per the hospital sector, it is huge in Germany. There's currently, or last year, 1,903 hospitals in Germany. In fact, with close to 500,000 hospital beds. Many of them are small facilities. So this figure shows the number of hospitals regarding the size of hospital with regard to the number of hospital beds, right? And you'll see that there are many very small hospitals. 365 hospitals have less than 50 beds, and these would very likely be rural hospitals, whose role is to provide service to the local community, right? And then, of course, the bandwidth covers all the entire range up to very large hospitals with more than 800 beds. And we have some 95 of them in Germany. Among the top 10 largest hospitals, the majority is university hospitals, right? Typically, the university hospitals are the largest hospitals. And in fact, they offer significant resources and partnering opportunities. There's currently a trend that we see the number of very small hospitals is decreasing, and we see a trend to have bigger hospitals. And part of it is related to reimbursement regulation, which defines a threshold, a minimum number of cases that a hospital has to operate in specific fields so that it can be reimbursed, right? The idea is they want to have hospitals to specialize and actually build up a significant procedures case and base, so that there is enough practice and common practice in each individual hospital in order to achieve the quality that is expected, and therefore reimbursement will only be provided when a specific minimum procedures number is reached. Okay, oops, sorry. about those trends, what's going on really inside of MedTech industry, inside of those clusters. Again, their role is to bring together all the players, and they will host specific working committees on specific topics. This could be automation, surgery, robotics, rehab, anything. And so basically those clusters provide a communication and networking base to help innovators engage with each other, right? And these keywords here are basically those observations that we made in the last 2-3 years. This is what we see is really going on in the MedTech sector. Automation, of course. I mean, this is goes without saying. This is so very important in the manufacturing sector of MedTech, of course, but also down towards the point of care. Laboratories are being automated hugely. By the way, there's 500 laboratories in Germany with their own laboratory physician, and it's a huge sector. Those hospital pharmacies are being automized, and there would be many other examples that automation is really progressing. Surgery is dominated by minimally invasive surgery innovations. We think there's so much going on in cardiology with transcatheter technology innovation. We see that robotic is increasing. We already have over 100 Da Vinci surgical robots active in Germany, and 20 MacroSurge devices, which are designed for joint surgery, specifically provided by Stryker, right? And German hospitals are taking part in global clinical trials like the ROLAR. It's about robotic assisted laparoscopic rectal cancer surgeries. And the latest finding was actually they found evidence that in specific cases robotic aided surgery performs better than strictly manual procedures. And specifically with robotic procedures, the number of surgeries where the surgeon had to flip back to open surgery were minimized. Actually, there was no need to go back to open surgery once the surgery was started with a robotic system. Right, there's many other topics which we could talk about. We have a rehabilitation sector in Germany. It's huge. There's thousands of rehabilitation facilities where people reaching a certain age are entitled to go and spend a couple of weeks of rehabilitation. And then, of course, following procedures at hospitals, there's a lot of technology being used. They are using exoskeletons now increasingly in German rehabilitation to help people train their moving system again, right, after surgery, after a cancer illness, for example. It's typically not in the lifetime, in the everyday's life to be found yet, but in rehabilitation centers. And this is taking place already. Right, so I'm going to close my presentation with once again referring to our team, right? This is the healthcare team inbound, we call it Invest. This is the team that helps international companies to understand the German healthcare sector and to actually find the right place in Germany. Will help to find the perfect place in Germany where to set up your entity, your business in Germany, right? This is Markus Schmidt, this is our team leader. I'm a medical device specialist. Gregor is a biomedical expert. Julia Albrecht is a specialist for medical aids, and Julia Peach is for digital health apps and or digital health per se, our specialist, and very welcome to reach out. Right, our services include information about all those market segments, legal information, how to set up a business entity. There's tax information also for about incentives, how to get incentives in Germany. We'll introduce you to local partners for R&D purposes. And then, of course, as I said, we'll help to find the perfect place for you in Germany. Right, you could contact Gregor and I via email, by phone, anytime, by LinkedIn, of course. And we have a fantastic website up and running. You're welcome to check it out. So much content, videos, presentations, publications. Right, look forward to hearing from you and maybe talk to you later, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. Thank you for the insightful presentation. Yeah, I can see that Germany is the kind of one of the most kind of attractive markets for companies to go. Yeah, and next I'd like to introduce our last speaker, our regional director, Katie Wu. Over to you, Katie.
Thank you. Share my screen. Can you see my screen here?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Can you see it now?
No, not yet. Do you want me to share the screens on my side?
Yeah, if you could,
okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let me see it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, great. I can't agree anymore with Gabriel and Gregor. I think GTAI has a fantastic website, and GTAI has many fantastic programs. So on behalf of MediHeroes, thank you, GTAI, for sharing such wonderful information. I can see from the chat that there's a lot of interest. We want to know more about what you do, especially a lot of the vital information. So I thought I want to cut this short, but I feel that this is important. So as you can see, my first slide here, I think it is without a doubt that Germany is an example of a global best practice in innovation clustering. And, just listening to Gregor and Gabriel just now, there's a reason why an article was written in 2020 to say that there are 5 reasons why Germany is the best country for biomedical startups in Europe, and for that matter, I think maybe one of the best in the world as well. I come from Singapore, and we're also very proud of our biomedical industry. And after hearing what Gregor and Gabriel was saying, I think there is indeed competition in that sense. I can also speak the same way for Korea, for which MediHeroes is based out of. So let me just quickly share this. I think it's important for us, especially for the startups that we are in this meeting, even for some of us who are in the SME business. And when we are thinking about Germany, we have, for MediHeroes, we have been connecting with multiple countries in Southeast Asia, in Northeast Asia, India, especially recently. There's a lot of interest in Germany. And these are the 5 reasons why I think we need to look at Germany very carefully. I will not repeat this, but just to highlight for all of us to see what the 2 gentlemen have talked about how Germany is a network of biomedical digital hubs. A hub is a place where everything comes together. It's about collaboration. It's about access industry leaders. Just now, I'm just so impressed with Gabriel. You mentioned that there is a non-profit research group involving 10,000 engineers. I mean, what sort of collaboration and access to industry information can one get if you are starting up? And I think that is so wonderful what Germany is doing. So the other takeaway I had from Gregor was also about the access to industry leadership. So as you can see here, how that even from what I done my research, a startup finder, how it's going to be able to help folks like us while we are thinking about investing in Germany, looking at an online database and just going through the massive number of startups, locations, funding, sizing, etc. And such is provided free for you. So, it's just impressive. The other thing is how Germany is also leading in the deep tech space. And how, based on my research, Germany is now third in place after China and USA. And then, of course, last but not least, the government support is just amazing that so much like what Gregor mentioned earlier, Go Bio, Science for Life, how it supports entrepreneurship. So I think that is key. Let's go to the next slide. Yes. So you see, MediHeroes has this mission. Our mission is to help startups and businesses go to biomedical, biotech clusters. And why is it important that you need to find clusters and not like go by yourself? Because clusters are able to help you connect to the different elements of the value chain. It's all mentioned earlier: facilities, university, innovation, competency. Just now Gregor mentioned that between 2018 to 2020, there are more publications on biotech than the United States. That is mind-boggling. That is mind-boggling. So, if you are in a cluster, you are able to have access to a lot of such information, and that helps businesses. So it's good for patients, it's good for R&D, it's good for businesses, etc. So MediHeroes' mission, as I said earlier, we are conducting this go-to-market series, and we have identified one kickoff program, which is the Biomedical Clusters program. And we've started in Singapore already. Germany is our second leg of the webinar series. And the rest of the countries, as you can see there, USA, India, China, there's a lot of interest from our audience, from our members in MediHeroes, who want to know more about all these other countries. And it's, you look at what we have done so far in Singapore and Germany. Today is the one for the webinar. And very soon we'll cover the USA and India and China. And we go to the next slide. I'm pleased to announce that September the 2nd in Singapore, which is next Friday, in case any one of you are still interested and want to make your way to Singapore, we're introducing Biopolis, Launchpad, and MedTech Hub. But let's go to Germany, the next slide. So to coincide with the Medica show that is in Düsseldorf, MediHeroes is also very pleased to announce the Visit and Meet program in Germany around the dates of 18, 19, 20th, 21st, 22nd. So the details and the exact locations of the clusters first will be announced soon. But we are seriously looking at Düsseldorf. We're looking at Mannheim. If possibly, if time allows, for the visitors, maybe even going further than that. There's also the Munich clusters. There's also the Frankfurt clusters. So we're studying it carefully now, and we're working, and we're very happy that we have the support of GTAI, and we're also working with the state bodies to work with us. So hang in there. look out for our MediHeroes program. It should be announced very soon. So let's go to the next one. Yeah. So finally, I just want to share with our visitors today that come and check out our MediHeroes website. We're very much a cross-border platform for medical supplies and services. And you can find out a lot more information about what we do, including in our website. If you go in there, there's also like a chat room. After today's meeting, we're going to create chat groups. You can ask questions. So it doesn't just end here. You can continue to ask us for whatever slides or information. If we can help facilitate with GTAI and make sure that you get the information that you need, we're more than happy to do that. We are a platform for medical companies. So with that, I thank you very much for hearing about MediHeroes and what we do to support you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, KT. Thank you for introduction of our cluster visit and meet program. Before we jump into our breakout room session, I'd like to suggest to take a group Photoshop time. So if there's anyone who doesn't really want to show your face, then just please do stop video. Okay. Okay. I will count 3. Okay, let me count 3. Okay. Well, why don't we just take a photo with thumbs up pose? I think it'll be nice. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let me count 3. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Okay, for our breakout room session. Yeah. Okay, now we will have a short 10 minutes breakout session. So we've created 2 breakout rooms, one for the Dr. Gregory and the one for the Mr. Gabriel Flemming. So please click below the breakout room button. So please choose one of them to join. So let's meet in 10 minutes. Okay, I will open the rooms. If there's any problems who have difficulty in joining the breakout session, just let us know.